Hello and welcome to the Asian Game presented by SMC, coming to you from Doha at a restaurant, of all things. Michael Church, Paul Williams.
We need to eat.
Scott Banger, that's right. How was the meal?
Quite good.
Quite good.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I think you can see from pretty much our almost empty plates.
That's right,
It was very nice.
but I know you're not big on vegetables. I've seen this, I've noticed.
No, I
that.
just don't eat tomato. I'm not
Well,
a big tomato fan.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
so-
Well, neither is Michael Church by the looks of it, because you've not...
No, I'm not a big tomato fan either.
Okay, I'll finish the tomatoes later on. What we have to finish for the Asian Football Confederation teams is Japan and Korea. Their round of 16 matches tomorrow. Guys, let's start firstly with Japan. A huge clash against Croatia. Paul, we were all at the press conference a little bit earlier today. We heard from Hajime Moriyasu and the defender Yuto Nagatomo as well. Very confident going into the game, saying some rather curious comments, but certainly in a good mood and confident that they can create Japanese football history, because Japan has never reached the last eight, which is the stated goal of the JFA in their 100-year plan.
Yeah, so let's see if they can do it. I think Nagatomo actually said at one point at the end of an answer, "We will win." So they are very, very confident they can get the job done. We'll see whether that eventuates tomorrow. I give them a good chance against Croatia. I mean, we've seen what they've been able to do against Spain and Germany in this World Cup so far. So you have to consider them a good chance to continue that against Croatia. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if Moriyasu changes his side. We'll see whether he brings in players like Mitoma or Doan, or whether he continues to play that same style where he leaves them on the bench and then brings them on in the second half and tries to change the game. We'll wait and find out. But I think they're a really good chance to, I guess, cause another upset and make it through to that quarter-final they seek so much.
Michael, we've seen Japan play opponents that like to try and play through Japan rather than going over the top in Spain and Germany. I'm not so sure that will be the case with Croatia tomorrow. And if, for example, we see a team perhaps go long on more occasion, my take on it is that could be the kind of side that could really cause Japan the trouble. Ko Itakura is suspended. We expect Tomiyasu will come in. He's probably not fully fit, and certainly that back line as a whole is not especially mobile. So what kind of a challenge will Croatia pose, and how do you think they'll go about playing what might be a different style of opponent to that which they've played so far at the tournament?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I think they're just going to play the same way as they've played. They're just going to sit deep. They'll be defensive. They'll try and keep the Croatians out for the first 45 minutes, and then they'll try and go for it in maybe a 10 or 15 minute spell in the second half. I don't see anything changing from that approach that Moriyasu has adopted in all three games actually to the tournament so far. Moriyasu actually made a really interesting point in relation to the Croatians, how they had gone into extra time in 3 of their games at the last World Cup. They've also drawn 2 games at this World Cup. And bear in mind, the squad that they have here is not too dissimilar, certainly the core players from the squad that reached the 2018 final in Russia. Like I said, it's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. And even with these winnable games, and I think tomorrow is a winnable game for Japan, we've seen when you present them with a winnable game like we had against Costa Rica, they don't take the opportunity when it's presented to them. Now, I'm not saying that this is as winnable as the Costa Rica match, because it's certainly not, because obviously Croatia are a very good side, but I do think I think it's a game that they maybe don't go in as favourites, but I certainly don't think they go in as underdogs.
All right, so we hope that Japan can fly through to the quarterfinals for the first time in history. Talking about flying, Falcons. One of the national sports is falconry here in Qatar, and we actually paid a visit to a falcon hospital. So seriously are the falcons treated that any form of injury, they're immediately taken to the hospital to be given great care to recover and to recuperate. They're even taken in for regular checkups to make sure they're in good flying order. So let's have a little look at falconry.
And start with the Falcon from 2007 until now, it's 15 years. Yearly we receive around more than 25,000 pairs with different cases, like a routine checkup, or have a medical, or even they have operations like fractures, they have wound. Step by step I built, and at the same time the Falcon, is a strong weapon in your hand. So you have 2 in 1. You have your passion with the bird and with the most unique bird, you can work with it. The peregrine falcon can arrive 300 kilometers by swapping like this moving. if you compare the percent of the eye size with the head size of the falcon with our human eyes and the head, it should be our eyes is weight 4 kilo to make the same percent of the falcon eyes. It's one of the actually beautiful thing in the falcon. You see the big eyes, big black eyes. So big heart, lung with air sac, very strong eyes, completely dynamic of feathers, very strong feet, 5 times than the people, and that's just we now start about what they have. So it's really strong live weapon you have in your hand to hunt anything in the wild. Many people they ask why falcon? What they do with falcon? It's like a football. I am the coach and he's the player. I train him to hunt. So when you go to wild and you start hunting with that bird and we hunt, you are happy because you're training him. So it's like a sharing between the work between you and the falcon, from the flying, from the eating together, and from even living every day. Because if you are in the living room with your friend, it's in your hand. If you are in the car, he's in your seat beside you. If you are eating, he's in the chair beside you. So he stay days with you. So there is very strong relation between you and her.
And welcome back to the Asian Game presented by SMC as we look ahead to the final game tomorrow. That is Michael, Korea up against the might of Brazil. It goes without saying a massive challenge. How do you think Korea will fare?
Yeah, it's a difficult game, right? I mean, they played against each other. They played against each other in a friendly match in June in Seoul, and the Brazilians won that game 5-1, if I remember correctly. And Koreans were totally outplayed, and I think it's going to be a very tough task for them again in this game here in Doha. I struggle to see them doing very much in that.
Paul, I think in a similar way to Japan and how they've approached it, Korea have tended to be the same as well in terms of sitting back, waiting for chances on the counter, take what they can in set-piece situations. Do you expect that to be the same against Brazil tomorrow? And where do you think that they can hurt this Brazilian side that's so good right across the pitch?
Whether that's their plan or not, I think that's just how it's going to turn out, because Brazilians are clearly one of the best teams in this tournament, so you'd expect them to play on the front foot. So I think the Koreans are going to have to play like that regardless of how they intend to go out there to play this game. And Michael referenced that game, the friendly match from earlier in the year when they lost 5-1 to Brazil. Paulo Bento at his press conference said today that that wasn't an indicative result of the two teams, and you can't read too much into that result for this game tomorrow. Remains to be seen. They would have learnt some lessons from that game, whether they can translate that into a better result. But as Michael said, Brazil are clearly one of the best teams in this tournament. They're going to find it extraordinarily difficult. If they can get Hwang Hee-chan into play, and Bento again said today that that's going to be a game day decision. We saw him come off the bench. Whether they decide to throw him in from the start and just go all in with Son Heung-min on the other side, I think that's probably a good way to go about it, because when he came on, he changed the game and he provides a balance to Son on the other side as well. So that might be one way that they can hurt him with their two dynamos on the wing, but it's going to be extraordinarily difficult.
Michael, we spoke a lot in the build-up to the tournament and throughout the tournament so far about the impact of Son Heung-min, one of the stars not just of Asian football but of global football. I think it's fair to say that he hasn't been at his best so far at the tournament. We know he's playing with a face mask on. We know also that he created the goal that got them here in the last group stage match, but he hasn't perhaps stood out as much as we would expect. Is this the time really for him to step up and try and carry Korea through into the quarterfinals?
I think, he's had all those issues that you've mentioned, and as Paul's referenced, Hwang Hee-chan, and Hwang Hee-chan really is such an important part of how they play, because when Korea play without Hwang, all the pressure, all of the attention from the opposition is on Son. Son also is likely to try to take it on himself. We've seen it numerous times certainly through the first two group games, and even before Hwang Hee-chan came on in the game against the Portuguese. He will try to go that extra yard. He will try to go that step further than really he needs to. He tries to take on a lot more onto himself. When he has somebody like Hee-chan to be able to lay the ball off to take some of the burden, the attacking burden, and also to take some of the attention from the opposition away from him, it gives him more space. It gives the team, in an attacking sense, more space, and they're able to create a lot more, and they're able to be more effective. So I think if Hwang Hee-chan starts tomorrow, and if Kim Jin-soo is also in the kind of attacking form that he's been in, not so much defensively, but attacking form, and those three are able to link together, and maybe we get, whether it's Cho plays in the middle or whether it's Hwang Hee-chan, it's all about that attacking unit, and they work very well together when they work together and when they're on the pitch together. When you take one of the components out, particularly Hwang or Son, then they're nowhere near as effective. So I think it's all part and parcel of that.
All right, you and I will be at the Japan game tomorrow. Paul, you'll be at that Korean game, and we'll be back tomorrow to review all of the action from the two games, guys. You can go ahead and finish your vegetables now, or if you
Take a chip while I can.
desire, take a chip as well. And to take you out tonight, here's a little look at more of the sights and sounds that we've been experiencing here at the World Cup in Doha, Qatar.